This morning I got this email, and I'm not gonna lie, it's got me pretty over the moon right now. With over 4,000 hours in total watch time and 1,000 subscribers, I'm officially a YouTube partner and can apply for monetization. It goes without saying that all of this is because of viewers like you, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can't believe that 4,000 total hours of me just talking has been consumed by people out there in the world. So today, the question is to monetize or not monetize. I think a universal basic income could have some interesting effects on the path that the internet seems to be taking. Everyone seems to agree that the golden age of the internet and YouTube in general is far, far beyond us. Numa Numa, Star Wars Kid, the type of chaotic, primordial, just oozing creativity that came with the absurd anonymity of the early days of YouTube cannot exist in that state anymore. And there's some reason to believe that monetization is at the core of that problem. So the issue of when content creators started to see that their videos had been demonetized and they weren't given really any solid concrete reason why. One, that confusion was not helpful whatsoever. And two, it really did suck because now you're not able to make money because of something you said. And, there's the entire question of, is this censorship? And people will always say, no, it's not censorship because the video is still up and your voice is still out there. But it's so ridiculous. This is the same thing that I bring up all the time when people say, if you don't like a job, just quit. No, you have to work that job because you have to have the money in order to pay your bills. And if you're having to make money in order to continue saying what you want to say, especially if you're someone like me who happens to speak politically or about greater issues in society, and you're wanting to do that full time and continue to provide content, you have to be able to pay your bills. And of course, you're going to start to conform to the advertisers' expectations. And advertisers don't want you talking about war, especially if they're Nestle and you happen to be talking about the really exploitative water extraction that they typically do all around the world. They're not going to support that video whatsoever. I would just have loved it if the advertisements would exist as they were, and everyone kind of just understood that, no, this isn't some sort of endorsement for the content behind it. This is just a way to make money, right? That would have been great, but it appears that that's not the way things will go. Instead, it appears that the increasing corporatization will continue to seep into social media websites like YouTube, like Reddit, like Facebook. We need to deal with this, and I think a universal basic income can help. At least in this avenue. We'll have to talk a lot more, but for this specifically, this issue of monetization, a universal basic income, more specifically, detaching income and basic survival needs from work is so huge. Because if we could just do that at the bare minimum, then if my video gets demonetized right now, I'm not going to care as much. I'm not going to be so freaked out at the moment because I at least still have my basic needs met. Check. It still sucks that my video is going to be demonetized, and I would still prefer that it not because I want to make more money, as we all do. My basic needs are met, great. If I'm demonetized, that sucks, but I can still live. I can still continue to talk about the things that I want to talk. The second thing that I've talked a little bit about in my past videos has been this idea that I have of a crowdfunded economy. And if you've ever listened to Sam Harris's podcast, he talks a lot about these things that I'm bringing up right now in the very beginning of his episodes, where he explains that he doesn't choose to have any advertisements on the content that he's producing because he doesn't want to have to conform to the expectations of advertisers. He doesn't want to feel censored by what he can or cannot say based on who is providing him money. Us Americans, we love to say that we are the land of the free and that we have freedom of speech, but increasingly, I don't think that it's very true to say that. If you go into your workplace and you try and express your freedom of speech and say what you really feel about the work you're doing, see how long you can do that for until you're kicked out, and then you're homeless, and then you're starving, right? So if someone has a lever and they're able to pull that lever to take all of the oxygen out of the room, unless you do something for them, you're going to do what they want you to do because you need that oxygen in order to live. If someone else has the resources you need to survive and can willingly give it to you or not give it to you based upon your actions, then that's not freedom. That's not freedom whatsoever. And if you were to think of a human in a natural just environment, They have the access to all the resources they need to live, ideally, around them. They just have to go out, reach up, and grab it. That's all. It's not being held away from them based on another sentient creature's decision to have them do something. That's the main difference between freedom and slavery. So, when I'm talking about a universal basic income, I am talking about true freedom, because we will never have freedom if it's based upon your expectation to at least grab a paper bill to put food on your table, to get rent. That's why an unconditional basic income is so incredibly important, because there's $1,000. Boom, it's yours. No matter what you do, as long as it's in the confounds of the law, no matter what you do, you have that. And that means that an entire spectrum of human creativity, of human expression, is unlocked. And this is a spectrum that really only the wealthy and the privileged have at this moment. Only they are free, if we're really going to be honest. So when it comes to YouTube monetization, let's say that I get demonetized. I can then turn to my viewers and say, well, look, I want to be free to speak what I want to say, because I think that's why you're here. You want to hear what I have to say, not what an advertiser has deemed worthy for me to say. So if you have it within you, pass $5 along. If you could buy me a coffee every month, all of you together would suddenly be able to pay for my basic needs. Now, I talked about this a little bit in one of my last videos where I said, this is my vision of the crowdfunded economy, one in which we are no longer bound by the expectations of a more kind of Kafkaesque system, and more in which we can keep each other afloat based on the value that we're able to provide as true human beings. But I definitely have encountered a problem with this vision that I have, because just recently Disney Plus released, and of course I'm a huge Marvel fan, I love Star Wars, and they took my money. They basically opened my wallet and plucked it right out of there. There's a death by 1,000 cuts. Increasingly, it appears that, people are expected to give a little bit here, a little bit there. You're going to get all of this, and it's great, but that value, that starts to really add up at the end of the month. And like I said earlier, the people who are supporting my content and keeping me afloat, they have their own problems. They have their own use for that money. So I don't see how the crowdfunded economy could work in the way that things exist right now. It can work for some people. I absolutely see it working for some people, and I would love that to happen. But in a world with a universal basic income, where your basic needs are met, that's less of a problem, the death by 1,000 cuts, if you have more disposable income at your hands. And this is an economy in which money is flowing from one person to another, value is being expressed, and the people who are providing things that others do appreciate will be rewarded more than that basic amount, which is your needs met. And people have an inner desire to express themselves and to bring value into the world. It's an inherently psychedelic idea, a magical idea that just electrical impulses in your brain can produce a vision of something that doesn't exist in the world right now, and you can manifest it with your hands and bring it into reality like you're some kind of wizard. When we're built for that, it's in our DNA, and I think that the UBI is going to make that system happen, and it is going to be a beautiful future if we can. The term that I use for this is techno-shamanism, right? The idea that we can use technology in order to unlock human potential, bring us back further to our roots, and experience what it means to be a part of the reality that we exist in. There's a point in time that relying on the system of currency and money as a means to an end will backfire on us and will actually damage our ability to create value. And I believe that's true because we can see how it's happening on the internet right now. Corporatization of YouTube sucks. It was a beautiful world back when it first existed, and it is not anymore. And I think that is because our basic needs, our basic survival is inherently tied to money. And, the socialists may have a point when they constantly bring stuff up like that about it. I just don't really agree with their ultimate vision, especially if it's in the form of a federal jobs guarantee, because that hasn't inherently changed the problem that I presented earlier, in that someone is still expecting you to do what they say in order to have your basic needs met. A universal basic income pushes past the point of capitalism versus socialism. It's an evolution of a system that we have found that works the best and actually fixes the blind spots within that system And we need it now more than ever because the internet was supposed to save us, and it hasn't yet because the system that it's trying to save is just so predominant. The video's dragging a bit here, so I'm going to do a part 2 when it comes to YouTube, but I also wanted to make a video about universal basic income and video games, and I'm going to just briefly touch on that right here, because I grew up on World of Warcraft, and I learned a lot about myself doing so, and money was never the end goal, unless it was virtual currency that we're talking about. I didn't spend all my time fighting dragons and this or that. The most time I spent on it was in the auction house. I cornered the market as an alchemist, and I learned basic commerce, and I learned how to advertise myself, even though it was a virtual character. And I had such a deep love for Blizzard, the company that made World of Warcraft, until just recently when a tournament winner in Hearthstone, a separate game that they made, took some time to say, fight for Hong Kong, the revolution of our time. And Blizzard took all of the prize money away from him, banned him, and then apologized to China. Because China has so many people, it's this huge market that they want to get into to maximize profit. Where I felt that their stuff that they made earlier, 2008, 2007, 2004, I believe, actually, was more of just a creative expression of a group of people that had a love for Dungeons and Dragons and wanted to make a video game. And the more and more that we bow to the almighty dollar, the more we will lose ourselves and lose what makes life special as we do so. But I'm going to save that more for another video. I'm going to wrap this one up really quick. Again, none of this would have happened without you guys. So thank you so much for sticking with me. Let's go and secure that bag and fight for a better future.